Wow, people did so well in the DO class. As always, outstanding job. All right, good. All right, so let me go to the other slide, share this slide now with you. Where is where is that? Here it is. Here it is. All right. Can you see this slide, everybody? MS students, everybody can
Yes,
see
we
this slide?
can. Yes.
All right, just thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Yeah, all right. All right. This is my message to you every time I do that. That's my slogan. That's my goal. That's my motto. Your success is my success. Your success is our success. All right. So let's get started. How are you guys doing today? Staying warm?
Trying to.
All right. All right. I'm sure you get a chance to read the information, right? Tired? Yes, I know. I know I'm teaching like 4 hours, maybe more than that. I have to meet 2 students after this. And tomorrow I'm teaching 4 hours back to back. Oh, by the way, before I forget, tomorrow, remember that I just noticed that it is not on your uh, on your calendar. I think Megan didn't put it on the calendar, but it will be on the weekly calendar. Tomorrow there is a special session I have organized just to help you guys out, to prepare you guys out for the renal exam. It's 3 to 5 in person in lecture hall. It is open to all DO students and all MS students. So make sure it's optional. If you don't want to come, you don't worry about that. But I would encourage everyone to come in that session. It's more like a supplemental session, so I can make it required, but I don't want to make it required for you guys. But by coming it will immensely help you to do well on the exam, because I will talk about keeping exam in my mind. I will talk about high yield concepts, high yield components of renal physiology, which you have to apply, which you have to know for the exam on 10th December 10th. Okay, and this exam is very heavy with renal physiology, 41 questions. Okay, so it's very critical, very crucial for you to know about this. And obviously this, our session has more clinical questions, is more higher order questions compared to the previous blocks that you have learned, because I believe by this time students can see can see more better picture, more clear picture, more maybe full picture, because whatever you learned in fall semester, it will come back in renal. And We cannot avoid that. And I designed all sessions and exam in that way, that we bring everything together, what you have learned in the fall semester, in discussion of the sessions and in your exam, because it's a great opportunity for you and for me to review the entire fall semester in renal. Okay, by this time you have learned about cardiopulmonary, introduction to pharmacology, PKPD. You learned about foundation block, everything what you learned. My MSK will come back in renal. Okay, so this will really immensely help you to see or connect all the different concepts that you have learned throughout the fall semester together. Okay, and you can appreciate the connections once you see that, and you will love this, because wow, I see that, doctor, so it's amazing stuff, everything is coming back. Okay, so that's a cool part of renal physiology. And since it is in the fall semester now. Okay, let me make this off text. All right, good. So before I get there, let's talk about some exciting stuff, cool stuff, as I say. So you learned about angiotensin 2, right? You all learned about angiotensin 2 last week, and you know about the effect of angiotensin 2 on GFR. So what is the effect of angiotensin 2 on GFR? If the level of angiotensin 2 is low and high, what would happen to the GFR if the level is low? You learned about that last week. It's a repetition of what we have discussed last week, and what we learned in last week will come back in today's sessions. Okay, all right. Everything what you learned, most of the things that you learned last week will come back in today's session and tomorrow's session, and also on Thursday. All right. So, what is the level of angiotensin 2? How angiotensin 2 will affect GFR. What is the effect of angiotensin 2 on GFR? If the low level of angiotensin 2 will increase GFR, high level of angiotensin 2 will decrease GFR. Remember that. If you remember that as a trick, high angiotensin 2 will decrease GFR, low angiotensin 2 will increase GFR. Okay? And we'll talk about, you learned about mechanism last week, and we'll talk about mechanism also. We'll discuss about mechanism also today. But you learned about this, most of the things, so you know that. So high level will decrease GFR, low level will decrease GFR. So okay, if you put in the chat, I would like you to participate in the, because it's very difficult for me to look at the chat and explain this thing, because it's too much information. It's very dense subject. And please turn on your camera. I see most of the people have kept their camera off. It's interactive sessions. I would like to encourage everyone to keep their camera on, if at all possible. Good. Thank you, Amir. I can see the face. Thank you, Fatima. Angiotensin 2 high, decrease GFR, low angiotensin 2 will increase GFR. Now, how can we that connect that concept to real clinical world? And why I'm saying this is I would like to share this information, which is very cool and exciting for me, and it should be exciting for you as well. Now, there is a disease called chronic kidney disease or chronic renal failure or end-stage renal disease. Okay. Now, in that case, when people have CKD or CRF or ESRD, end-stage renal disease, the GFR will fall down dramatically, way below normal. So, what is normal GFR? We learned about that last week, right? It's 120 ml per minute. That's normal GFR. And the GFR will fall down in case of CKD or CRF or ESRD. I put it everything here, chronic kidney disease. It can go down to 10 ml, 10 to 15 ml per minute. It is that low in this chronic kidney disease or chronic renal failure or end-stage renal disease. The GFR will fall very badly. Okay, which can be 10 to 15 ml per minute. Normal GFR is 120 ml per minute. Right now, the people who have this end-stage renal disease or chronic kidney disease, before this drug was invented, I will talk about magic of pharmacology, a drug, how drug can change the life of the healthcare system, how that can change the landscape of the healthcare, especially in context to kidney disease management. So in the past, when the drug angiotensin receptor blocker or angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors were not discovered, the people who have a chronic kidney disease or a chronic renal failure or end-stage renal disease, they have to go for kidney dialysis or renal transplantation, renal transplantation. That's the only option they had. Those who have a kidney disease like chronic kidney CKD or CRF or end-stage renal disease, the GFR is so low. If you do not conduct dialysis in this patient, or if patient doesn't go for kidney transplantation, patient will die. So only those are the only options available for the treatment of CKD or end-stage renal disease. Now, with the invention of the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors or angiotensin receptor blocker, the drug, that has changed the whole dynamics of the medical management of chronic kidney disease or end-stage renal disease. That can save the kidney, and that can either completely avoid the dialysis or kidney transplantation, or can postpone the kidney transplantation or dialysis in the patients. That can save the kidney, right? And how that can save the kidney? I just told you. What happened is that in chronic kidney disease, the kidney senses that there is a decreased renal perfusion. So kidney thinks that the blood is not enough coming to the kidney. So what would happen when the kidney sense that decreased renal perfusion? There is an upregulation of the RAS system. When you upregulate RAS system, you increase the angiotensin level in the blood. You know what is RAS, right? Everybody knows about that. We talk about it in cardiovascular system, and so everything will come back. What we have discussed, whatever discussed in all the blocks will come back now into This is how I design all the sessions in my exam too. So the kidney thinks that the kidney is not getting enough blood. So kidney sense decreased renal perfusion, and that will result in compensatory activation of the RAS pathway. And one of the components of the RAS pathway is angiotensin 2. So there is a high level of angiotensin 2 in these patients now. Okay. Now, what is the effect of high level of angiotensin 2 on GFR? I just told you that.
Yeah. Can I answer this?
Yes, please.
So it will cause constant efferent arterial constriction.
Yeah. So what would happen to GFR, high level of angiotensin 2? Decrease, right?
Mhm.
I just told you guys, high level of angiotensin 2 will decrease GFR, low level will increase GFR, right? So how we'll talk about that, how what's the mechanism? Obviously, it will constrict efferent and afferent arterioles, but when angiotensin 2 is very high, actually efferent is more sensitive to angiotensin 2 than afferent. When the level becomes so high, so high, so high, it constricts both arterioles on the same magnitude. SADF. Okay, so we'll constrict both an afferent and efferent arterioles. You're correct, which will decrease renal blood flow. Agree? And that will decrease GFR drastically, dramatically. Very low GFR, and patient can die eventually. Right? So in chronic kidney disease or end-stage renal disease, it's a gradual decrease in kidney function. Right? Gradual decrease in renal function. And now this drug, angiotensin receptor blocker or angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, will save the kidney. How? Now you can tell me that. Anybody can tell me that. I gave you the foundation. High angiotensin 2 will decrease GFR. So if you decrease angiotensin 2, what would happen to GFR?
It will increase.
Exactly. Period. Period. So this is now, this disease is very common in a patient who is suffering from diabetes and hypertension. Very common, right? The kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, CKD or CRF or end-stage renal disease are very common in a patients who are suffering from hypertension and diabetes, especially undertreated and untreated or undiagnosed hypertension and diabetes. People that can result in glomerulopathy, glomerular sclerosis, increased intraglomerular pressure, and that will result in degeneration of the glomeruli and disappear of the glomeruli, loss of glomeruli, which will decrease the renal function for filtration. That will decrease the GFR, right? So if you, the end goal is you have to increase GFR, and you have to increase, how can you increase GFR? By dilating the afferent and efferent arterioles, as Sadaf just said that. And how can we dilate it? By inhibiting angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 is a potent vasoconstrictor. We talk about that. Angio, look at them. Angio means blood vessels. Tensin is constriction. We reduce constriction. So when you inhibit angiotensin 2, it will dilate afferent arterioles, dilate efferent arterioles, also dilate systemic blood vessels, improve renal blood flow as well. It will also improve renal blood flow. It will also dilate blood vessels everywhere, not only kidney, right? So they will improve renal blood flow, number one. It will also decrease intraglomerular pressure by dilating afferent and efferent arterioles, decrease resistance, increase renal blood flow, increase GFR. Amazing. Amazing. One drug can save kidney and can save so much of the money involved in this kind of dialysis and surgery. It's very painful process. It's expensive process. It's tedious process. It's complicated. It's scientifically complex process to do dialysis and kidney transplantation. And outcome is not guaranteed. There is no guarantee of outcome. Amazing. A simple discovery of one drug can postpone, delay, or completely avoid a patient who requires transplantation or dialysis just by one drug. If you prescribe, if the patient starts on right on time. Outstanding. This is called beauty of this medicine, beauty of renal physiology, beauty of pharmacology, the magic of pharmacology. Now I'll give you one more example, which is more context to anatomy, and you learned it in anatomy. So, but I would like to give you that example just to make it more appealing, this session, interesting, exciting for you guys. There is a disease called patent ductus arteriosus, PDA, right? In a fetal life, when the baby is born, when the baby is not born, when baby is in the mother's womb, there's a PDA, it's open. Arteriosus duct is open. It's called patent ductus arteriosus. When the baby is born, after delivery of the baby, the PDA is supposed to be closed in a few hours, because PDA stays open in the mother's womb, because placenta is producing prostaglandin. So the prostaglandin will keep the PDA open in the baby while the baby is in the mother's womb. But as soon as the baby is born, you remove the placenta, right? You take the placenta away, and that will decrease the prostaglandin in fetus, in baby, which will result in a closure of the PDA in a nature normally, right? In a natural baby, normal baby, PDA will be closed as soon as the baby is born, because you remove the placenta, that will decrease prostaglandin, and when you remove the prostaglandin, PDA will be closed. Okay, but in some baby which are born prematurely, like me, I was born prematurely, but I didn't have a PDA. Okay, I was born premature, but my PDA was closed on time. Don't worry about it. But The baby who are born prematurely, in that case, the PDA will remain open after the birth, because and the drug which was discovered 200 years ago, which is available right now, we've been using that drug widely, and it doesn't require prescription. It's called NSAIDs or ibuprofen or indomethacin. You all know about Motrin, right? Motrin. So that one drug, Motrin, you can give that Motrin to the baby. It will decrease prostaglandin dramatically in the baby, and then you close the PDA right away, quickly. And that will prevent the surgery that you have to operate in the baby. Very expensive surgery, very complex surgery, very serious surgery. Just give this drug that can close the PDA without any kind of surgery in baby. Magic of drug, magic of pharmacology. One drug, very cheap drug, over the counter, doesn't require prescription. Can save baby. If you just give that in the baby, will close the PDA by decreasing prostaglandin, right? Now, what the other part of that, which I will go on that. Well, let me go back to the CRF again here. If anybody who has a chronic pain condition, remember that, very important for the exam. Anybody who has a chronic pain condition, they take Motrin, right? For the pain, as a painkiller, as an anti-inflammatory, as an analgesic painkiller, they take Motrin. They take it on a regular basis because it's a chronic pain condition. What would happen to the kidney? The people who take Motrin for a longer period of time, they can result in chronic renal failure or chronic kidney disease, because it will decrease prostaglandin locally, which is produced locally in the kidney, or decrease prostaglandin in the kidney. It will result in decreased blood flow and decreased GFR. Okay, and that will result in chronic kidney disease or chronic renal failure. So that's why we have to be very careful when you prescribe Motrin like drugs like NSAIDs in a patients, especially in the old age patients who have a chronic pain condition like osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. They are more prone to have kidney damage if they take the painkiller medications on a regular basis. They take it more often because it is also available easily. It doesn't require prescription. So that will result in decreased prostaglandin local in the kidney, will result in vasoconstriction of apparent inferior arteriole, that will decrease renal plasma flow, decrease renal blood flow, decrease GFR, can result in chronic renal failure if the patient is using this painkiller on the long run. All right. Now, there is one more very cool concept, is that same like heart, like brain, like liver. We talk about special circulation. If you take the kidney out from the body, and if it is not innervated, if it is isolated, if the kidney is isolated, the kidney can still maintain its renal blood flow and GFR by a phenomena called autoregulation, because same like heart and liver and brain, it doesn't require any neural command or autonomic nervous system input. The kidney, if you take the kidney out, isolated and put it in the plate in the outside, it can still maintain its normal GFR and renal blood flow, because kidney doesn't require any neural input to regulate its RBF and GFR. Because kidney is a special process called autoregulation process phenomena. Okay, I've been working on this project at Toro for last 6-7 years. I have received a grant from Toro president. I've been working on developing and optimizing a solution and device that can prolong the shelf life of kidney before it is reaching to the recipient. Okay, I've been working on that project for 6-7 years here, and we have successfully created a machine, a technology, a box, a device, and a new solution that can prolong the life of the kidney, double the life of the kidney. What are the solutions which are available right now in the market that can only prolong the life of the kidney for 48 hours? But our solution that we have designed in Toro Lab can prolong the life of the organ for 96 hours, double the time now, 4 days. Okay, I just want to share this with you. This is caffeine, right? This is caffeine. Look at this. It's caffeine, tea, coffee, right? Why I put it? Because caffeine is a very good diuretic. Caffeine is, I remember we talk about that in introduction to pharmacology class as well. Caffeine is also bronchodilator. That's why people feel better. Those who drink tea or coffee, those who have bronchial asthma or cough, they start feeling better, because caffeine will result in bronchorelaxation, bronchodilation. It dilates the bronchial smooth muscles. It will also dilate the smooth muscles of the blood vessels. And when you consume caffeine, it will dilate afferent arterioles, efferent arterioles. It will increase renal blood flow. It will increase GFR. It will increase urine output. That's why I encourage people not to drink too much of the caffeine before the exam, because they have to go for the pee. If they increase too much of caffeine, it will increase urine output, because it will relax the afferent and efferent arterioles, increase blood flow, and increase GFR. See, it's so beautiful. Caffeine is a natural diuretic. Caffeine is a natural diuretic. Theophylline is a natural diuretic. All right, let's go to the next part. So now we talk about that. So it's not something new that you do not know about that. So obviously we talk about this. So I told you this. If you prescribe this drug, ACE inhibitors or ARBs, it can decrease the resistance of the efferent arterioles or efferent arterioles both, which will increase the renal blood flow and increase GFR. Right? We talk about that. The RBF increase, GFR increase. RBF increase, GFR increase if you give this drug, right? Because it will decrease the resistance by dilating efferent and efferent arterioles. We talk about that in the previous slide. Same idea. And obviously you have to know the Ohm's law, because if you resistance is decreased, R is decreased, the blood flow is increased, right? By Ohm's law. It's very simple concept. That's why I was very emphasizing Ohm's law in cardiology class, because it will come back in renal and everywhere. All right, now same idea here. I don't want to really spend too much time on that. It's the same thing. Angiotensin 2 will dilate efferent arterioles, and efferent arterioles will increase renal blood flow, and the increased renal blood flow will increase the PGC. The increase in PGC will increase the GFR. Okay, so that's the concept here. All right, one more slide before we get to the questions. It's interesting slide. Why it is unique blueprint? Why I use the term unique blueprint for kidney is different than any other organ system. Why I'm telling you that? Let's talk about anatomical difference first. In anatomical difference, from anatomy perspective, if you talk about any organ, when efferent arterioles will end to the capillary network of capillary, right? Right, Andrew? And what would happen to the other organ system? Then efferent arteriole will end into the capillary network, and from capillary network, the venules will arise, right? What will come out? Venules, the venous system, right? Right? That's a natural anatomy. But in this particular case, kidney doesn't follow the rule of anatomy. Efferent arterioles in the nephron will terminate or taper into the network capillary of network here, all top capillaries, and that top capillary will actually continue as the efferent arterioles, which is not following the anatomy rule. Number one, remember that. And that efferent arteriole here will continue as a peritubular capillary, which are actually hugging to the tubules of the nephron. Hugging means like this, hugging, right? So why I'm using the word hugging? Because anatomically, all the peritubular capillaries are in very close proximity to the nephron tubules, right? They are located on a very close proximity. Hugging means very close, right? Just mean very close, right? Like close, Andrew. So why I'm saying hugging? Because you can imagine that what I'm talking about, that what I'm saying that. So all the peritubular capillaries are in very close proximity to all the kidney tubules. Why? To make the exchange function possible. Kidney is all about exchange. Kidney nephron is all about exchange, give and take, reabsorption and secretion. Kidney is all about exchange, and exchange can only possible if the blood vessels are very close, are in very close proximity to kidney tubules. If the blood vessels are not in a close proximity with the kidney tubules, you cannot exchange, which is critical function of kidney. That's the main job of kidney. That's the job of kidney, right? So that's why peritubular capillaries, which is arising from efferent arterioles, are actually located in a very close proximity to the tubules in order to make the kidney functions, exchange functions, which is critical, possible. You get it, everybody? Now, one more difference here before I get to the question. The kidney has a very rich blood supply, and we don't realize it. Okay, none of us actually, including myself, I didn't realize it as a student. But I'm telling you, kidney is working as hard as heart works, and brain works, and liver works. But we do not realize about kidney, how hard kidney works. And that's why logically we have two kidneys. Think logically. Kidney is working so hard, we get two kidneys. Why we have two kidneys? Because it's working so hard. We need double power. Now, so if the kidney is working so hard, kidney requires more blood supply. So kidney is rich in blood supply. All these capillaries are hugging or basically in close proximity to the nephron in order to fulfill the blood supply of the kidney tubules, because kidney tubules have transporters which are called energy driven pump or energy driven transporters, which are operated continuously round the clock 24/7 on both basolateral membrane and luminal membrane of each renal epithelial cells of each segment of nephron. So all this energy driven pump require rich blood supply. Otherwise, how can you supply ATP? How can you supply ATP to primary active transport mechanism and secondary active transport mechanism? In order to supply more ATP, you have to supply more blood, because kidney is very hard working organ, right? So in order, because that transporters are operated continuously in order to maintain electrolyte and fluid balance within normal physiological range. Okay, so remember that that's why the kidney is rich in blood supply in order to supply enough ATP, blood, and other nutrients to all these transporters, which are operated continuously 24/7 on both basolateral membrane and apical membrane 24/7 in order to make exchange possible, in order to make this reabsorption and secretion possible. Now, one more thing, which is very cool, which we'll talk about in the next slide. So this set of learning objective. Now look at this picture. Looks like me, right? A weird guy, strange guy. All right, now I'm telling you that, look, overwhelmed, be gentle to me. And I told you why. Kidney is working very hard. Now think about that. Kidney is filtering. If you look at the GFR, we just talked about GFR. Kidney is filtering 120 ml of fluid per minute. GFR is 120 ml per minute. So if you convert that in 60 minutes, it is 7.2 liters per minute, per hour, I'm sorry. It is 7.2 liters per hour. 120 ml is per minute. So if you convert that in 60 minutes, which will give you 7.2 liters of GFR per hour. And if you convert that in 24 hours, it will give you 180 liters of fluid filtered per minute, per day by kidney. So kidney is filtering 180 liters of fluid per day. So that indicates the kidney is working very hard. Right, Andrew? 180 liters of fluid per day. And then now the magical cool things come now. Out of 180 liters, which is filtered by the kidney per day, more than 99% will be reabsorbed by kidney into the bloodstream. So think about it, how much kidney is working hard. Kidney is filtering so much of the fluid, that indicates it's working very hard. And kidney is taking almost all these things which is filtered by kidney back to bloodstream. Almost more than 99% is taken back by the kidney into the bloodstream from the kidney tubules by kidney. So it indicates that kidney is working very hard. Right, Andrew? Does that make sense? Good. Does this picture make sense? Good. All right. All right, let's get to the questions. I'll start the poll, okay? And I will sync the poll to your Canvas quiz points by Thursday.
Did you want the poll to be done on Zoom or Polivi?
On the Zoom, because polls everywhere is not good. I mean, the only problem with the polls everywhere is that first of all, it will not give you much time. So I want to give you more time. It's a difficult subject for everybody. So in the polls everywhere, I have to fix the time. So I don't want to fix the time here. I can close the poll whenever I want to, so you don't lose the points. And second thing, with the polls everywhere, the problem is that it was making the slide a little bit smaller, because I use the laptop, not computer. So I thought Zoom is better for you, and Zoom can help you better to get the points. Okay? Does that help? All right. And no polls everywhere, okay? You don't have to log into polls everywhere. It's a Zoom polls now. It's easy question. I don't really give too much time to on this question. Like it's a very simple idea, concept. I have posted all the material, all my recording, all my interactive sessions recording, my Zoom recording from exam review. Everything is posted on Canvas. So make sure you watch it from previous year, okay? From previous year. I'll post this recording, but I'm probably talking to you about my old recording that I already posted on the Zoom on Canvas. So make sure you use that recordings to learn the information. All right, I'll give you 5 more seconds, and I'll give you the points for the participation rather than correctness, because I think it's difficult subject. So I'll just go with the participation rather than just correct answer. So I'll end the poll. Okay. All right. Who can explain this?
I can do it, Dr. Shah.
That is great. Wonderful.
So the answer is A, and the reasoning is because it is reabsorbed because excretion is far lower than the filter load, and the only way the kidney can go from 18 grams filter to only 1 gram excreted is by reclaiming most of it in the tubules. So always when excretion is lower than filtered load, it means that the net absorption is.
I love it. Outstanding. Superb. So remember that in this case, 18 gram is filtered per day, right? It's very simple. And 1 gram is excreted. So what happened to 17 gram? Where did it go? Right? So if you filter 18 gram and if you only excrete 1 gram, then what happened to 17 gram? That is reabsorbed, right? So remember that, as Sarab said very correctly and very nicely, then the rate of excretion is less than what you filtered. That means there is a net reabsorption, right? Sarab? If you excrete less than what you filtered, obviously it is reabsorbed, right? If you excrete more than what you filtered, what is that known as? Secretion, right? It will give you negative value. So you cannot excrete more than what you filter until you put something, you add something from blood to the tubular fluid, right? That's called secretion process, right? Secretion by secreting substances, you remove substance from blood to the lumen of the tubular fluid, and that can increase the excretion, right? More than filtered load, right? More than filtered load. So when you excrete more than what you filtered, obviously the substance is secreted, right? That's very straightforward. Now, if you compare with the rate of excretion to the rate of filtered load, in other term, if you compare rate of excretion to rate of filtration or filtered load, it will give you an idea that the substance is reabsorbed or secreted. Right, Sadaf? In other words, same thing. I'm just putting in other language. If you compare the rate of excretion to the filtered load, it will give you an idea that the substance is reabsorbed or secreted. Right? So excretion is a summation of the filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. Agree? When you add all of these three different phenomena or process, it will give you a rate of excretion, right? Rate of excretion. Now, what is filtered load? Filtered load is amount of the solute or water or whatever it is, whatever substance, which is filtered in a unique time by the filtration apparatus, by the barrier. Whatever the amount of the substance or water is filtered in a unit time by a filtration barrier is called filtered load. Okay, reabsorption is something, the solutes and the water which is taken back or added to the bloodstream from the kidney tubules using different transporters, right? Different transporters which are located on the renal epithelial cells on the apical side and mesorenal side. We'll talk about that as we move forward and throughout the week. And secretion is same thing. You are adding into the tubular fluid from lumen using different transporters, right? All right. So then we'll talk about all these things, what we reabsorb, what we secrete. Okay. We secrete a lot of organic acids, organic bases, potassium, and we reabsorb glucose, sodium, amino acids. All of these things will reabsorb in a large quantity as we go today and tomorrow and rest of the week. We'll talk about that again and again. Okay. So don't worry about that. All right. This is not that complicated concept, but very important for the exam. Okay. And very important fundamentally. But this is what I want to discuss. I love to discuss this kind of thing. I don't enjoy discussing reabsorption secretion. That's easy to understand. But anybody tell me, and I did this math for out of curiosity, and you're gonna love it. I can guarantee you on that. This is how much sodium is filtered. Okay, this is in a milliequivalents per day. Okay, and who cares about milliequivalents per day? Because we don't count intake of sodium in milliequivalents per day. Right? We talk about grams per day, right? Okay, so I converted out of curiosity how much sodium is filtered. We filter 580 grams of sodium per day filtered. Now, out of that, we excrete 100 milliequivalents per day. If you convert that in grams, it's 2.3 grams per day. A simple math. Okay, I did the simple math. Now, anybody can tell me why I did the math. And nobody will explain that to you guys. I'm telling you that. I made this whole renal sessions, whole different way to discuss, teach in the class. And to make you realize how beautiful kidney is. Yes, Jessica.
Well, so we can compare how much the body is keeping, like reabsorbing in our body versus how much we're actually secreting, which we end up keeping a lot of sodium in our body.
Right. We exactly, we reabsorb most of the sodium. You're right, Jessica, and we excrete very little amount of sodium. Right? You're correct. You said that we excrete very small amount of sodium. Majority of the sodium is reabsorbed. But how much we excrete out of 580 grams? Only 2.3 grams. Right? Right? Jessica, you said everything correct.
Yes.
But why I did it, and you said that indirectly, this is what we are losing, right? What we are losing, 2.3 grams per day. So based on that, WHO and FDA has come out with this idea of recommended daily intake of sodium. How much sodium we should consume every day. How much we lose every day. This is how much we consume every day. I love it. I love it. If you can read my mind, you're going to see what I'm talking about that to you. Why we are learning about kidney? What the hell is sodium excretion? Why I have to know about that, Dr. Shah? Why I have to know about that? We have to know about that because we know how much we lose and we know how much we have to replace every day. So we lose 2.3 grams of sodium, just sodium per day. And that means we have to take 2.3 grams of sodium per day to keep sodium balance in our body. Does that make sense? What I'm telling you guys? Just to get an idea how much we lose, we have to replace in the same amount to the body. Because we know kidney, we know how much we lose it by kidney, and that will give an idea how much we have to take per day. So now I'll give you simple questions. How much? I'm not talking about sodium. I'm talking about sodium chloride now, which is white salt, the table salt. How much sodium we should eat per day? What's the normal sodium diet we should have per day? Sodium in the diet, sodium chloride in the diet, salt. How much salt we should take per day? Like that's why we ask patients with hypertension or edema, don't take too much of salt. You learned about ECF box diagram too, right? ECF, more concentration, more water will sip, more volume, more blood pressure, right? So we do not want people who have a hypertension to eat more salt, right? So normal RDI for sodium is 2.3 grams per day, and for salt, 5 to 6 grams per day. Salt is NaCl, Na and Cl together. So if you add chloride here, for excretion, total will come out around 5 grams per day. And that 5 grams per day of salt we should eat per day, because this is what we are losing per day from our body by kidney. So if you ever are curious that why we should take 5 grams of sodium chloride or salt per day, we get this number about kidney now. We know about how much kidney is excreting, how much salt is being excreted by kidney per day. Kidney excrete 5 grams per day, and that needs to be replaced by body from the diet. Okay, that should be replaced to the body by diet, just to make sure that if you eat more than 5 grams, it would have a problem. Kidney, that will result in more kidney burden to the kidney. Kidney has to work more harder, which is not good on the long run. Right? All right, good. So don't eat too much of the salt, banana chips or potato chips mainly, which is very salty. If you have a lot of chips and if it is unhealthy, give it to me. I'll eat it. Okay, I'll take your problem. I'll eat it. But you don't eat salted chips. Okay, give it to me. I'll eat it. All right. But no, salted chips are not good, right? Potato chips especially are not good because salted and fried make it more worse. It's fried and salted. Outstanding. Let's get to the next questions. You like it, Alan, right? Alan? Antonio? It's amazing, right, Antonio? It's cool, right? It's like cool, right? Cool. All right. All right, I'll give you some more time. Not that much time. It's a basic recall question, but I want to talk about the foundation part, the principles of that. Why TF over P ratio for inulin is more than 1 or whatever it is. Why it is like that? That's important, right? All right, I'll stop the poll. 5 more seconds. I have to talk a lot this week. 4 hours today, 4 hours tomorrow, 2 hours Thursday, and 1 hour on Friday, and multiple appointments with the students too. So I think I'm going to lose my voice. Let me drink the water. All right, let me close it. Amir is very quiet today. All right, no worries, Amir. I'll take it. No worries about that. I love you. All right. All right. Anybody can explain that? Amazing questions. Very important for the exam. You know, if you know this slide, if you know this concept of TF over P ratio, you will learn a lot in kidney. My favorite topic, and you should be your favorite topic as well, because this talks about so many things in one slide. Why TF over P ratio is more than 1 for inulin? Why it is more than 1? Yes, Saraf.
So the answer is A, and the reason is because when the tubular fluid and plasma ratio greater than 1 means that the tubule basically removed proportionally more water than solute. And inulin is the perfect maker because it is filtered but not secreted or reabsorbed. And the question that why 3, it's because it reaches about 3 because the proximal tubule removes 2/3 of the filtered water but none of the inulin. The filtered volume shrinks to 1/3 to the original, so the inulin concentration becomes roughly like 3 times higher.
Outstanding. I don't know how to explain, what word should I use for you? Amazing. Amazing. I always have to explain that why the ratio is almost 3 for inulin. And very hardly people can explain this concept. I love it. I love it. If I'm in the class, I will literally dance. And my soul is actually dancing right now. My heart is actually dancing right now. Not my body. You cannot see that. I love it. Outstanding. All right. So let's reiterate what Sadaf just said. So this graph, you can see this TF over P ratio is plotted for various substances. TF over P ratio, TF is tubular fluid, P for plasma. TF over P ratio of various solutes or substances is plotted as a function of the length of the proximal tubule in percentage. Okay, so now we start with the first point of the early proximal tubule, you can say simply, and that's called Bowman space. Okay, and the ratio at Bowman space is 1. Why it is 1? Starting for everything it is 1, right? Sadaf, why it is 1? And then it will change as you walk across the path of proximal tubule. It will change. So why TF4P is 1 in both Bowman space or early proximal tubule? First point of Amir.
Sorry, 1 second. So the reason is because water and inulin are actually absorbed. The Bowman space is actually non-discriminatory when it filters, besides like filtrate in small solutes. So when inulin is
no, I'm not talking about inulin. You're right. You are correct. TF4P. I'm talking about TF4P ratio is 1 in the beginning of the proximal tubule. You're correct. So what he said is this basically. He said that basically whatever is filtered will be exposed to the Bowman space first, and neither reabsorption nor secretion occurs yet. Right? That's what Amir said. There is no reabsorption, no secretion has occurred yet because you are in the Bowman space. Right? So no secretion, no reabsorption has occurred yet in Bowman space. That will keep the ratio 1, because that means that whatever the concentration of the solids you have in the tubular fluid is the same concentration you have in plasma, right, Amir? So you
Yeah,
have same.
that was trying to get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have same
Mhm.
solid concentration what you have in plasma, same in a tubular fluid. That if you divide that, it will give you 1, because it is not neither reabsorbed nor secreted, right? In Bowman space, it's not that dynamic doesn't happen. Okay, that change exchange doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in Bowman space, because it's just a starting point of early proximal tubule, and that is just collecting the filtrate, ultrafiltrate, right? So that
Yeah.
no reabsorption has occurred yet, and no secretion has occurred yet. That will keep the concentration of solid same in the plasma and tubular fluid. That's why TF4P ratio is 1 in the Bowman space, or first part of the proximal tubule, right, Amir?
Yeah,
Good.
that makes sense.
Now,
I had
good.
that in my head. I just couldn't explain it.
No,
But
no,
you're
I
right.
know. You
Thank you.
said that. I get
Yeah.
that. I understand that. So as you walk through the proximal tubule, now let's talk about inulin, since that's the question here. So as Sarab explained really well. So you remove 2/3 of the water from the proximal tubule, right? Remember, proximal tubule is the hallmark of isoosmotic reabsorption, right? Isoosmotic reabsorption. So 67% of the water, 2/3 of water is reabsorbed from the proximal tubule. So when you remove water from the proximal tubule, and inulin, once inulin is filtered, inulin is a fructose polymer. It is freely filtered. No, neither it's not a charged molecule. It is not. It cannot bind to plasma protein. It is freely filtered. That's why it is freely filtered. It will not be reabsorbed nor secreted. So whatever inulin you are in the blood will be going to the tubular fluid, right? Will be filtered freely. It won't be reabsorbed. Won't be secreted. Now inulin is staying in the tubular fluid, but you will reabsorb water, as Sadaf said. So you have reabsorbed 2/3 of the water, leaving the inulin behind in the tubular fluid, right? So what will happen if you leave, if you leg inulin behind in the tubular fluid and only remove the water? It will concentrate the inulin in a linear fashion as you go from early proximal tubule, first part of the early proximal tubule to the end of the proximal tubule, right? So it will increase in a linear fashion. The concentration of inulin will increase in a linear fashion as you go from early proximal tubule, as you walk from first part of early proximal tubule to the end part of the late proximal tubule. It will increase in linear fashion, because you only remove water, you don't remove inulin. Inulin is not reabsorbed nor secreted, right? So it will increase inulin in a linear fashion, and the ratio will be by the end of the time, proximal tubule, the ratio become 3, because the 1/3 of water is left in the tubular fluid. 1/3 of water is left in the tubular fluid, so the ratio will be 3 times. It's very logical. You reabsorb 2/3 of the water, 1/3 of water is left over in the tubular fluid. That will make the inulin concentration 3 times by the end of proximal tubule. Make sense, everybody? A simple math. But nobody explains that. The book doesn't explain that. You have to see my video from previous year. I don't know how many of you watched it, or you have to learn today from me. But no, people don't explain that why it is 3, because you just have 1/3 of water left over approximately. That makes the ratio 3 times more than you start with 1. 1 times 3 is 3, right? Good, outstanding. I love that. Outstanding. So let's talk about why glucose and amino acid is less than 1. Tell me. People are putting in the chat, so I don't know how to see the chat now. Why it is less than 1?
For glucose,
Yes, Andrew.
Oh, yes, thank you, doctor. Because isn't it because glucose and amino acids, those are going to be heavily reabsorbed?
Yes, almost 100%, right? Almost 100%. So by the time you reach to a midpoint of the proximal tubule, all glucose amino acids are reabsorbed, because they have a critical metabolic role, right? They are very critical metabolites for the life. Without glucose, without amino acids, we will die, right, Andrew? So they are priority substances. They are priority substances that need to be reabsorbed from the early proximal tubule, even before we lose it by the kidney, right? Before kidney, we lose from the kidney. So kidney will try to reabsorb everything possible for glucose and amino acids right away, quickly, from the early proximal tubule before we lose it, because they have a critical metabolic role. They're critical for the life. They're essential for the life, right? So kidney will try to put it back into the bloodstream before we lose it, because they are priority. They're priority. And the bicarbonate is another priority, because bicarbonate is a first line of defense for the ECF buffer, right? You learned about in acid base, and I'll talk about that more on Thursday. Tomorrow's class, I'm sorry, tomorrow. So acid base physiology, tomorrow we talk about that. So bicarb is produced from the CO2, right? And people think CO2 is a metabolic waste. I told you about that. CO2 is not a metabolic waste. Our body is very smart, utilizing CO2 to make bicarbonate. Without CO2, you cannot make bicarbonate. If you cannot make bicarbonate, there is no life. We will die. So we need CO2. So CO2 is not a waste product. Our body utilizes CO2 to make bicarbonate. More than 90% of CO2, 95% approximately, is converted to bicarbonate from CO2 in the blood. And that is used as a buffer. And people say that CO2 is a metabolic waste. I cannot believe that. Anyways, so bicarb is reabsorbed. It's also a very important critical buffer in the ECF. First line of defense for the pH regulation, and without pH maintained, we will die. So that's why this all ratio will be less than 1 for bicarbonate, for glucose amino acids, because it is reabsorbed heavily, and that's why. But also, that's why the ratio will be going 1, less than 1, right? Because it reabsorbs heavily. Also, coming to sodium and osmolarity, why it is 1? Why it is 1? Come on. I just told you about that. Proximal tubule is the hallmark of isoosmotic reabsorption. What do you mean by that? How you can reabsorb water from proximal tubule? What is the driving factor or driving force for water to be reabsorbed?
For water in the proximal tubule is sodium, because sodium has so many sim transporters in the
Very
proximal
good.
tubule, and it'll absorb 95%, and then water will chase after it.
Right. So you reabsorb 67% of sodium from the proximal tubule. 67% of sodium.
Sorry, thank you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No worry. That's the same thing. You don't worry about that. That doesn't make much difference, actually. It's a 67% of the 2/3 of sodium is reabsorbed, as Mrs. Abraham said correctly. And the 2/3 of sodium will reabsorb water by osmosis. By osmosis, right? By osmotic pool. So that's why 2/3 of water is reabsorbed from proximal tubule, because you reabsorb 67% of sodium. So you reabsorb on a same proportion. Sarah was trying to explain, pronounce that word, same proportion, or it's called weight-to-weight basis. On a weight-to-weight basis, same amount of sodium is reabsorbed and same amount of water is reabsorbed. So the same proportion is on a weight-to-weight basis, and that will result in isoosmotic reabsorption. That's why TF4P ratio is 1. And the osmolarity is 1 too, right? Simple. Osmolarity is all, because remember that for osmolarity, which is the major contributor for osmolarity? You learned that in last week, and you should know from foundation block 2. Which substance or solute contribute major part of the osmolarity?
Sodium.
Sodium chloride, right? Sodium chloride, right? So, and the other is glucose and BUN and glucose, but mainly sodium. Second is BUN, third is glucose. Remember that. So that's why sodium is reabsorbed, will reabsorb water in the same quantity in the same proportion on a weight-to-weight basis. Isoosmotic reabsorption, TF4P ratio will remain 1. Good. Now chloride. Why chloride is very high initially, but then it levels up and becomes steady. Why? I'll give you a trick. If in early proximal tubule, the priority by anion, which is reabsorbed, is bicarbonate. Remember that. The priority is bicarbonate from the early proximal tubule. Priority for the late proximal tubule is chloride, right? So if the chloride is not reabsorbed from the early proximal tubule, what would happen to chloride concentration in the early proximal tubule? Increase, right? Right? And that's why TF4P ratio will be increased, but then it will level off and become steady, because then chloride will start reabsorbing from late proximal tubule, right? Right? And same amount of water will reabsorb following that, and that's why it becomes level off and it becomes straight line or straight, or level off and straight line, Plato. Everybody got it? Okay, and I will repeat this concept again and again throughout 4 days. Okay, don't worry about that. Inulin, we talk about inulin, so you know about inulin now. You're an expert on that. Good. Now let's play some kind of game. Okay, the next slide. Let's play some game here. All right. Now tell me, what is F here? What is F?
F could be glucose or amino acids. It just depends.
I love it. So it could be glucose or amino acids. Very good. What is E?
Would that be bicarb?
I love it. What is D?
Oh, sodium?
Yes. What is C?
Chlorine.
Chloride, chloride, chloride.
Chloride.
Yeah, that's chloride. Chlorine, but it's called chloride. Good. B, what is B?
Inulin.
Inulin. What is A? That's hard.
Paha. The paha.
PAH. Very good. I love it. Thank you, Mrs. Abraham. Outstanding job. PAH. A is a PAH. Para-aminohippuric acid. Para-aminohippuric acid. Because 80% of the PAH is secreted, right? By a transporter. Take 1 second. If you can wait for a few minutes, we can go to the Chipotle if you want. You want to eat, right? Eat banana. All right. I'm sorry, my daughter is hungry. I couldn't feed her today because of class today. Like she comes at 3 o'clock. Okay, eat banana right now, my dear, and we're gonna go to Chipotle later on. My favorite food. Okay, so what PAH is highly secreted, from the proximal tubule. There are special transporters which are located on the in the renal epithelial cells of the proximal tubule that will secrete PAH, which is they are finite, they are finite capacity, but they will start secreting PAH, and PAH will increase in the tubular fluid in a linear fashion. The TF4P ratio is very high for PAH when it is secreted. Makes sense, everybody? It's simple. You're adding PAH in the tubular fluid. That will increase the TF. TF is a numerator, right? TF is a numerator. All right. Let's play some smaller side kind of games here. So tell me how creatinine will look like. Remember, creatinine is used as a biomarker to assess the kidney damage or to assess the kidney function. We use creatinine in a clinical world and BUN, but mainly creatinine is very important than even BUN. That we use as a creatinine, which is a surrogate of GFR that mimics GFR. Okay, like inulin, we use inulin. We used to use inulin in the past. We don't use inulin now. Why? Because inulin is exogenous substance. We have to inject it from outside, and it could be risky, and it requires special administration. Patient has to go to the clinic, and it's expensive process. So we do not use inulin, but we use creatinine as a biomarker to assess the kidney function or GFR, because creatinine is endogenous substance. Endogenous substance is produced by the body. So we use creatinine as a biomarker. So where do you think creatinine will fall here on the TF4P ratio plot? Yes, sir.
So I believe that it should basically just like inulin, but slightly higher than inulin.
I
And
love
that
it.
is because, yeah.
I love it. Why?
Well, that is
Why?
because that unity is fairly filtered out, but not reabsorbed.
It is slightly secreted. It is
Slightly secreted.
secreted.
Okay.
Okay, so it is secreted, not unlike pH, but it will be secreted slightly. So you are adding creatinine in the tubular fluid, right? Right. So that's why it's increasing in TF4P ratio, because creatinine is slightly secreted. So it will slightly overestimate GFR, right? Slightly overestimate GFR. But if you look at the tubular transport dynamics of creatinine, it mimics inulin tubular transport dynamic, right? The tubular transport dynamic for inulin and creatinine is almost same. You follow? Because creatinine is slightly secreted, but rest of the characteristics of the creatinine is same to the inulin, right? Same like inulin. Very good. So it is slightly secreted, that makes the TF4P ratio slightly more than inulin. You follow, everybody? Right? And now, what is this? pH, right? That's pH, right? You follow? Beautiful, pH. Now let me ask you a little difficult question. You're gonna love it. Okay, before I get to that, remember I created this slide on purpose. I put this space blank in purpose for you to write the notes here, to explain the concepts, why creatinine is like this, why the line of pH is like this. So you can write down a note here. The second slide, I have a notes written here, and you can draw the line on your own. You follow what I'm saying? So you can check the both side of the coin. So here is the notes that will explain the concept, and you can draw the line on your own. And here is the lines, and you can write down the notes here. Okay. All right. Now let me ask you some interesting questions to you before I get to the next question. What will be the TF4P ratio of a plasma protein? Albumin in a normal healthy person. Yes, Amir.
0.
I love it. Why?
Because it's not freely filtered.
Why it is not filtered? You're correct.
It's a large molecule.
I love it. See, in our and you guys are doing great job. I have to say that. But in my class, when I teach, I always want to know why. That's physiology, right? That's physiology. Physiology is not a word associated exercise. Physiology is a technical concept. It's a mechanism-based discipline. Good job, Amir. So why it is not filtered? It's large in size. I agree with that. What is the other main component that actually restrict plasma protein to be filtered by filtration barrier?
It's negatively charged.
Very good. So if you look at the glomerular barrier or filtration barrier, whatever you say, same thing. It overall net charge of filtration barrier is negative, because filtration barrier is made up of glycoprotein or proteoglycan. And in glycoprotein or proteoglycan, there is a substance called sialic acid. Sialic acid is a negative charge substance that will make the glycoprotein or proteoglycan negative charge. Okay, so filtration barrier is overall negative, very heavily negative charge, and albumin or plasma protein is also negative charge. So that will allocate electrostatic component. It will allocate electrostatic component to the filtration barrier, and that will repel the albumin, because albumin is also negative charge, and filtration barrier is also negative charge. And because of electrostatic component, it will repel albumin to be filtered. So in a healthy person, albumin or plasma protein is not supposed to be filtered. Good. And the other thing, as Amir said correctly, is the size of the plasma protein. If you look at the size, normally anything which is less than 4 nanometer in size, 4 nanometer in size can be filtered. Anything which is more than 4 nanometer will not be able to filtered. And size of albumin is 8 nanometer, 7 to 8 nanometer of size. It won't be able to filter. Also, the molecular weight is also a concern here, can also matter. The molecular weight of the albumin is 68,000 Daltons. Very high molecular weight, very high molecular size, is a negative charge. All three together will not make the albumin or plasma protein to be filtered naturally by filtration barrier, because filtration barrier is negative charge. Very important for the exam. Okay, so you have to review this recording again. And my old recording also, I talk about this. Everything is what I'm telling you will be there in the exam some way. So good job. TF4 ratio for albumin is 0. Very good. So what will happen to nephrotic syndrome or ESRD or chronic kidney disease? Why people develop proteinuria? If you become doctor, which you will become doctor one day, a patient comes to you, you diagnose nephrotic syndrome. If you examine the urine, what you will see in the urine? Protein, plasma protein, albumin, right? Why?
Because the glomerulus, the barrier, the negative charges are destroyed. So then the barrier kind of opens up
Very good.
the place, its pores, and so albumin can start going into the urine.
Very good.
Well,
Good job.
microalbumin.
Microalbuminuria, very good. It will result in microalbuminuria initially, but that becomes very heavy eventually. As nephrotic syndrome is actually a very heavy loss of protein, but initially you're right, microproteinuria will occur. It become very heavy, especially it's very heavy in nephrotic syndrome or ancestral disease or chronic kidney disease. Good job. I love that. Super. Now, there is one more thing that will happen. It will also destroy the pores. The filtration barrier will be also destroyed, and that will also result in large increase in size of the pores, slits, and pores will be enlarged, become very large, and this will also lace the plasma protein to be filtered easily, because the now size of the pores are increased more than the size of plasma protein. Right, Jessica? So they both pair together will increase the proteinuria or protein excretion, and then there is a heavy loss of protein or proteinuria will occur in nephrotic syndrome or chronic kidney disease or ancestral disease. Good job. All right. Last question. I will go to the next slide, next interactive sessions. Okay, I know it's already. Don't worry, but I think it's important to do this thing. What happened? What happened to the polls? All right. Why is it not working? I see. Okay. Is it working now? Good. I know little technology. I know a computer. All right. So answer the questions. I give the diagnosis. At first, I thought I don't want to give the diagnosis in the stamp, but I said okay, I'll let you know it's a diabetes, type 1 diabetes. Not big deal. Well, I'll give you 5 more seconds. It's pretty straightforward calculation. Just participate. We'll also do the in-class course evaluation tomorrow at the end of the last session tomorrow. We were told by the administration that we have to do it in the class, so we'll do it tomorrow. Those who have done this, I appreciate that, but you can do it again if you want to. You can always change it. You can still change it if you did it. If you want to change it, it's fine. Doesn't matter. But we'll do it in the class I'll assign like 5-10 minutes for the evaluation tomorrow in the class. Maybe at 2:50 we'll do it. All right, I'll end the poll. Very good. All right, good job, everybody. So who can explain this quickly?
May I go ahead, sir?
Of course.
So you would do this by first of all converting for the blood glucose level from 400 milligrams per deciliter into change the deciliter into milliliters, and it would give you 4 milligrams per milliliter, and assuming the GFR is normal, then it would be around 120. So 120 times 4, it would give you 480.
Outstanding. Okay, good. My next question is this to anybody. You don't have to answer Parambir. Good job, Parambir. So why he assumed GFR is normal here? Why we have to assume GFR is normal here? Why we take 120 ml per minute? What is then the stamp that indicates that the GFR is normal in this patient?
Creatinine levels.
Creatinine clearance is normal, right? Creatinine clearance, right? I gave you creatinine clearance. So this is whatever creatinine is cleared by the kidney, right? Excreted, basically cleared by the kidney. That's normal, right? So you are right, Gpro. Same thing. It's just the same idea. Same when creatinine clearance is normal, you have normal creatinine in the blood, obviously. But here specifically, it is creatinine clearance that I gave you, and it's normal. So that indicates normal GFR, right? And normal GFR you have to know 120 ml per minute, right? Good job, everybody. I'll start the others class. You want to take a break for maybe 2-3 minutes? I can give you the break, and then you come back, and by the time I'll share the other slide, other set of slides. It's just 3-minute break, okay? So we can finish early. I want to make sure that I teach you better. I can teach you more. You learn more from this class, okay? I apologize for giving small break, but it's good. It's for you. It's not for me. Okay, I want to help you. I want to genuinely help you. I want to make sure that you understand this, learn this, and you do well on the renal exam. Okay, for it's important everybody does well on the renal mode exam. Okay, now I'll share this. Did I share this? Not yet, right? Okay, I shared it. You can see it now, right? You can see it? Good. Thank you. All right.
May I ask you a question real quick?
1 second, I'll come back. Let me use the bathroom quickly. Okay, I'll come back in a minute. Yes. Who has questions?
Me.
Yes,
So
sir.
I had creatinine as, like you said, there is some excretion, right?
Yeah.
My initial, like when you ask where would it be located on the graph, I initially thought between the chlorine and the inulin, because there is some excretion. It is filtered, and like I initially thought to put it in there because of that excretion. And the reason why we use it, I understand from the textbook, is that it's because we use that number slightly exaggerated. So in the curve, for me, it would have been between the chlorine and the inulin, more towards the inulin rather than above it.
So what you are trying to say, I didn't understand. So basically, well, chloride is not reabsorbed from the early proximal tubule. It is mainly reabsorbed from the late proximal tubule, right?
Yeah.
So what would happen to chloride concentration in the tubular fluid in early proximal tubule? Increase, right?
Yeah.
So what would happen to TF4P ratio in early proximal tubule?
It will be
increase.
Yeah.
Because you have more chloride in the tubular fluid, right? Right?
Okay. So yeah. So it will be you'll be greater because the ratio is greater.
Because TF is greater. Tubular fluid chloride concentration is TF is a numerator, right? Right? So think about that. If you do not reabsorb chloride will stay in tubular fluid. Yes or no? Tell me.
Yes.
Okay. So what would happen to TF concentration of chloride in what would happen to numerator?
It will be readily reabsorbed.
I'm telling you early proximal tubule. What would happen to chloride? It's not reabsorbed from early proximal tubule, right? So it's going to the late proximal tubule, right? Eventually.
Yeah, the descending.
So what would happen in early proximal tubule when chloride is not reabsorbed in the tubular fluid?
It continues to go down.
Increase in tubular fluid. You don't reabsorb.
Okay.
It will go down in the blood, not in the tubular fluid.
Okay. I think I might have to go send you an email.
No. You are not able to. You are making it very complex or overthinking it. Look at the numerator denominator. If you do not reabsorb chloride from multiproximal tubule, the chloride will stay where?
Chloride will stay within the proximal tubule if it's not reabsorbed.
Exactly. Hold on. It will stay in the tubular fluid, right? In proximal tubule.
Yes.
So what would happen to chloride concentration in early proximal tubule? Increase or decrease?
It will increase the concentration.
Good. Exactly. So what would happen to the ratio?
It will, if it's on the denominator.
All right. TF is numerator, right?
It will increase.
That's it.
Okay, got it.
Got it? Good. All right. So think maybe it's good you brought it up. I think you guys should just look at the numerator, the denominator, because that will make you more confused. That look at the numerator, that will be easy for you to understand, because if the numerator is increased, the ratio will increase, right? That's it. If you do not reabsorb something, it will stay in the tubular fluid, which will increase TF. If you increase TF, TF over P ratio will increase, period. Does that make sense, Digo?
Yes.
Period. Yeah. So think from that perspective, okay? Don't overthink it. Don't make it more complicated by overthinking it, because it's not that complicated. Just look at the one numerator to make your life, anyone's life easy. Just look at the numerator and then look at the ratio. The numerator is more than denominator, the ratio will be higher, period. Right? All right. All right. So let's get to the sodium and potassium regulation balance. So this is slide that I got from orientation that we discuss about that, the role of potassium, how increasing level of potassium in a different number, how that can have a clinical consequences on different target organ system, mainly heart eventually, and can result in cardiac arrest, ventricular fibrillation, cardiac arrhythmias, and sudden cardiac death if the level goes to 10 millimoles per liter. So we discuss about that in orientation. Numbers matter. All right. Now this is very interesting slide for you. And I think I talked about that multiple times in the class, that I personally am a big fan of logic and philosophy application in learning physiology or medicine than actual science. And this is the evidence of that. I'll tell you what is this, how you can use logic or philosophy to understand the nephron or kidney. It's not a big thing. Number one, before I get to that, remember that I would encourage everyone. Okay, draw the nephron, label the nephron again and again and again and again and again and again, multiple times. Draw and label the nephron multiple times, because that will give you more insight how each segment of nephron communicates with each other and how transporters work together, by itself and synchronously together, and how that will result in formation of urine. It is very critical that you keep drawing nephron, labeling nephron again and again. Stick to your bathroom, your bedroom, your kitchen, everywhere. Once you are ready, labeled it and put it there, and keep looking at that when you pass by. That's the best way to learn nephrology or renal physiology. I used to put it in my bathroom in the morning. When I sit on the hot seat, I read this nephron in the bathroom. It sounds funny, but it is very important. You put in the kitchen, you put in the bedroom. Look at that everywhere. Keep looking at that. More you stare at the nephron, label nephron, more you have develop insights, more you understand the connections, more you can appreciate the connections. It sounds funny, I know. It sounds weird, but it is the way of learning this. There are so many things going on in this tiny nephron. All right. Now, what I was talking about this thing, now about this philosophy and logic. Why I'm saying it is philosophical and logical. Look, this is called thin loop of Henle. Agree? Everybody agree? It's called thin loop of Henle. What is that? Thin loop of Henle. And this is called thick loop of Henle. Everybody knows it, right? That's very fundamental. You might learn this in histology, I don't know. Did they started learning this or not yet? Or maybe anatomy. This is thick loop of Henle, and this is a thin loop of Henle. Is thick loop of Henle is water impermeable. Thick loop of Henle is water impermeable. And the other transporters which are operated in thick loop of Henle, they all require ATP. They all are energy-driven transporters. So thick loop of Henle is water impermeable. Thick loop of Henle, I have energy-driven transporters. They have to use ATP. Why? Because it is thick. It is thick. It is thick. It is thick. That makes this segment, thin loop of Henle, water impermeable. That makes this segment on part of the nephron. You have to use the ATP to operate the transporters because it is thick loop of. It's a thick wall. It's a thick loop of Henle. If you want to break the thick wall, you have to use more energy. It's a thick. It's thick. That's the logic. Now let's come back to the thin loop of Henle. The thin loop of Henle, I think Antonio is enjoying this. I'm sure I can see on his face. Okay, so thin loop of Henle, you think like I have seen the most funniest professor in my life. The thin loop of Henle is water permeable. Amir is also enjoying, I love that. Thin loop of Henle is water permeable. It is thin. It is thin. And all the secretion that occurs in thin loop of Henle, the urea is secreted here. Urea is secreted passively from interstitium to the tubular fluid by passively because it doesn't require transporters. It is thin. It is thin. The sodium NaCl will be reabsorbed from the thin loop of Henle back to the interstitium. It is thin without using any transporters. It is thin. It is thin. Right, Mrs. Abraham, you learned renal physiology, so you may be enjoying it more. All right. So remember that it is thin, water permeable. You don't require energy-driven transporters. It is thin. Thick is thick. It is water impermeable. We require energy-driven transporters. Right. Now the fluid which is there in the proximal tubule here is isoosmotic to plasma, which is 300 milliosmoles per liter. Same osmolarity you have in plasma. But when you get down to thin loop of Henle, what would happen to the fluid here? Hyperosmotic or hypertonic, because you remove water. Thin loop of Henle is water permeable, right? And what would happen to the fluid concentration in the thick loop of Henle? Yes, you are muted. Hypoosmotic, right, or hypertonic, because it is water impermeable. Water impermeable. It is thick. All right, good. All right. You get it right, Antonio? You won't forget it now, right? You're gonna draw and label the nephron, right? Multiple times, right? Everybody will do that, right? That's a best way to appreciate the connections of different segments of nephron. If you want to understand this on a serious note, if you understand the nephron, if you know how different segments of nephron communicate, that's the best way to learn nephron by drawing and labeling it again and again, multiple times. All right. Okay, now I'll give you a glimpse of how to read the renal epithelial cells of different segments of nephron. And this is a prototype. It's a prototype, okay? It's a prototype. All right. Now, look at this. This has two sides, right, Jasmine? Jasmine is also enjoying it. I just see that it's perfect. This is a luminal membrane or apical membrane, right, Jasmine? Which is facing on the lumen, right? Facing on the lumen, right? This is another side called basolateral side of the renal epithelial cells. Basolateral membrane, because it is facing to the blood, right? Laterally, it is located laterally, anatomically, right? Basolateral, located basal, lateral, and it is basically facing towards the blood. Basolateral membrane. This is facing towards the luminal membrane or apical membrane, right? On basolateral membrane, you can see primary acute transport operated 24/7 continuously is called sodium potassium ATPase pump. It's electrogenic in nature. This sodium potassium ATPase transport, primary acute transport, located on the basolateral membrane. They operate 24/7. It's a primary active transport. It is electrogenic in nature because if you look at the stoichiometry of the sodium potassium ATPase pump, it will push 3 sodium out into the ECF and push 2 potassium inside the ICF. Right, Jasmine? So that will 3 sodium goes out, 2 potassium comes in, it will make it electrogenic. Right? It will make it electrogenic. Okay, good. Primary active transport. And so this is, you will find out this in all renal epithelial cells on the basolateral side. These are all the transporters which are involved in a process called facilitated diffusion. It's carrier mediated transport. It is involved in facilitated diffusion. On some, this is on basolateral side on early proximal tubule, right? Now, if you look at the luminal membrane, these all the transporters, either they all are secondary active transport, they could be secondary active counter transport or secondary active core transport or symport. Okay, so these are, and they are operated using the sodium gradient, which is created by the sodium potassium ATPase pump, and that will create a sodium gradient here on which all these transporters will operate using this sodium gradient, and that's why it is called secondary active transport, because they are depending on the primary active transport, which creates a sodium gradient, and so they do use the ATP indirectly of the primary active transport. All the secondary active transport, they are called secondary because they depend on the primary active transport. They are called active because they use the energy of the primary active transport indirectly, and they use the gradient indirectly, which is created by this primary active transport in the cell here. So using the sodium gradient, all these transporters will operate. It could be secondary active core transport or counter transport or antiport or exchange, same thing. Okay, so that's the way how you can read this, some of this part. Now, why, before I get to the difficult part, why the blood is 0 millivolt? Nobody explains that. Why the blood is 0 millivolt? Hey guys, can you turn on your camera? Most of you have kept the camera off. I will not enjoy teaching if you don't keep your camera on. So I see only few people have kept their camera on. So now I see few people have kept it on now. Good, I can see the faces now. Good. Still, many of you don't want to keep the camera on. It's okay. All right. All right, Andrew, go ahead.
Oh, sure. Thank you, doctor. Is it because the ions and the proteins and metabolites on the blood side, the charges all balance each other out, so then it's all electrically neutral? Is that the reason why?
I love it. I love it. Okay, no problem. I love it. Outstanding. Macroscopically, you cannot violate electroneutrality of the blood, right? Macroscopically, you cannot violate electroneutrality of blood. Any bodily fluid compartment is electroneutral because they have equal number of cations and equal number of anions. Cations and anions are equally numbered in any biological fluid, including blood. When you add that together, all the charges electrically, they are 0. Outstanding, Andrew. Outstanding. So when you measure the electrical potential of the blood by a potentiometer, it will come out as a 0 millivolt because blood is electroneutral. So many of you still have not turned on the camera. It's fine if you're not in a position to turn on your camera. I will be okay with that. But I would definitely encourage people to keep their camera on. Yes, Jessica.
But what about the fluid in the cells when, like, don't they have a membrane potential that's not 0?
So that's not 0. No. So the electrical charges here are not 0. They keep fluctuating. Good question. So in the blood is always 0 because you have equal number of anion and cations. The cell, the polarity inside the cell will keep fluctuating because the transporters are, operating continuously, and they will, there's influx and outflux of the electrolytes that will keep changing the polarity or electrical potential of the ICF, but not the ECF. ECF is always same because there's always same number of cations and anions. That's the concept of anion gap. We talk about that in acid-base physiology again, but for now, remember that same number of anions and cations. So that's a 0 millivolt blood. Now, lumen potential here is -4 millivolt in early proximal tubule. So how can you read that? It's called trans-epithelial potential difference. Okay, it's called trans-epithelial potential difference. Now, how can you? Let me make it very simple. That means the lumen potential with respect to the blood. Blood is always 0 millivolt. With respect to blood, the luminal potential is minus 4 millivolt in the early proximal tubule, and that's called trans-epithelial potential difference. Why? Because it's trans-epithelial. It's through the epithelial cells between blood and lumen. Okay, so with respect to blood, the luminal potential is minus 4 millivolt in early proximal tubule. It's called trans-epithelial potential difference or trans-epithelial potential. In a simple term, you can say luminal potential, which is negative in early proximal tubule. Okay. Why? We'll talk about the next slide. Okay, good. So for now, all you have to know is this on this slide. It's a prototype. Now this is the interesting part, and I don't like how the book puts all the different segments of nephron on a different pages. You cannot learn this information really well. On a serious note, if you want to learn this information, you have to put all the segments of nephron side by side. Then you can compare and contrast. Okay, so let's go step by step now. So this early proximal tubule, we talked about that just now. Now look at that, the luminal potential of early proximal tubule is minus 4 millivolt. Anybody can tell me why it's minus 4 millivolt? Why it's minus 4 millivolt? Look at the transporters. Let's make it simple for you. Look at this sodium hydrogen exchange. I will make it very easy for you. It's counter transport antipode. 1 plus goes in, 1 plus goes out. So this transporter, nature of this transporter is electroneutral. Right? Amir, makes sense? 1 plus goes in, 1 plus goes out. Electroneutral transport. 1 plus goes in, 1 minus comes in. 1 plus, 1 minus 0 is electroneutral transport. So these two transporters will not contribute for luminal potential here. Agree? Everybody? It's not complicated, simple math. Now, you look at a sodium glucose co-transport and sodium amino acid co-transport. Sodium glucose doesn't have any charge, but when sodium brings in, sodium is a cation. So you bring cation from the lumen to the cell, it makes the lumen negative. Makes sense? Because you remove positivity of the lumen by removing sodium. Right, Sadaf? So that's one reason why it is negative. The other reason is that sodium and amino acids together. Yes, I know amino acids are neutral. Some amino acids are neutral biochemistry perspective. Some are positive, some are negative. But if you add all together, they are still positive charge amino acids together. If you add everything together, so when you bring sodium and amino acid co-transport, you still bring a lot of positivity from lumen into the cell that contribute for the negative lumen in early proximal tubule, which is minus 4 millivolt. Okay. Everybody follows? Thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever. All right, good. That's not difficult, right? Good. Now, difficult part comes here now. When you walk on the nephron, you are in early proximal tubule here. Now you're coming to late proximal tubule, right? It's not that far, Jasmine. You walk a little bit, right? Think it's a microscopic structure. You are going from early proximal tubule to late proximal tubule. So it's very microscopic distance you travel, right? Right, Jasmine? And if you look at the luminal potential is minus 4 millivolt, it becomes plus 4 millivolt suddenly. It's a difference of 8 millivolt. By 8 millivolt, it increases by 8 millivolt. When you just go from early proximal tubule to late proximal tubule, that makes the luminal potential very positive compared to early proximal tubule. Why? Look at this, Jessica. What are the transporters? Let's go to the transporters. 1 plus goes in, 1 plus goes out. It's electroneutral, right? Jessica, agree?
Yes.
1 minus goes in, 1 minus goes out. Electroneutral, agree? Right?
Yes.
1 minus goes in, and it's very small. I'm sorry, but that's the maximum I can do on the one slide. So 1 minus goes in, 1 minus goes out. Agree? So this is also electroneutral, right, Jessica? So none of these will contribute for the lumen change potential, right? None of them will contribute for any potential change in lumen. Agree? But they're electroneutral. Then how come it becomes positive? Yes, Mrs. Abraham.
I'm not sure if it's on this image or not, but isn't it also because you have calcium and magnesium that
that is not hold on. Good. But not on this segment is some thick loop of handling. We'll talk about that. Good. So let's focus on this part before we get to that calcium magnesium part. But good. I will talk about that. Good. I'm happy that you know about that. Good. So yes, Sadaf.
So the reason is because that chloride finally begins to move out of the lumen.
Exactly. See, Digo, I don't know if I pronounced your name correctly or not. This is the same thing I just told you on TF4P ratio. This is very important that chloride is reabsorbed, as Sadaf said, in the late proximal tubule. We talk about that, right? Chloride is mainly reabsorbed from where? Late proximal tubule. So priority in the late proximal tubule is chloride. Priority in the early proximal tubule is bicarbonate. That's why I made this slide. Remember that. Look at this. When you look at the title, it says red in text. Just to help you guys out that the bicarbonate is mainly reabsorbed as an anion on the early proximal tubule. When you go to late proximal tubule, it is mainly chloride. It is mainly chloride. Okay, remember that.
It's small.
So all right. So now let's get to the point before we. Okay, so now chloride is very high in the concentration when you reach to late proximal tubule, right? Setup, you said that. Agree? Right? Mm-hmm. So there is a chemical gradient that will create a chemical gradient for chloride to diffuse from the lumen to the blood, because in blood, chloride relatively from the blood is very high in concentration in lumen, right? Chloride is very high in lumen compared to blood, and that will create a chemical gradient that will result in diffusion of chloride passively from lumen to the blood through the paracellular route. So you can see the chloride will move automatically because there is a large chemical chloride concentration in the late proximal tubule that will create a driving force for chloride to diffuse passively from lumen to blood via paracellular route. So chloride will start moving from lumen to the blood. Okay, because large chloride is there in the late proximal tubule, in the lumen basically. Okay, so that will keep diffusing chloride down gradient from lumen to the blood. So remember, the chloride will move first now. Okay, this is a little difficult to understand, Andrew. Pay attention. So chloride will go first. So when chloride moves, what is the charge of the chloride?
Negative.
So you remove anion, right? You remove negativity, remove anion. So what would happen to the lumen? Almost all chloride will be reabsorbed. Large amount of chloride will be removed from the lumen, which is negative, anion. What that will happen to the luminal potential?
It will make it more positive.
Exactly. Good. So that's why I made this arrow. Chloride will go, and that chloride movement of the chloride will make the lumen positive. Look, now the lumen is positive. Chloride will make the lumen positive. Shift of chloride from lumen to the blood will make the lumen positive. What is the lumen positive effect on the sodium?
Will that force sodium to go into the cells?
I love it. Not into the cell, through the paracellular route, right? Look at this. It's called paracellular. Between the cells, it will go to the blood, right? Right? Why it will go to the blood? Because positive charge will repel, right, Jasmine? So the positive lumen potential will repel, will push sodium to be absorbed passively from lumen to the blood via paracellular route. Right, Jasmine? Agree?
Agreed.
Good. Outstanding. I love that. So now let's move to the next component of the nephron. Next segment of nephron. Now we finished early proximal tubule, late proximal tubule. Now we have to skip thin loop of Henle. I told you why we have to skip thin loop of Henle. I told you the logic, because in the thin loop of Henle, the luminal potential doesn't play any role, that much role in reabsorption secretion of any solids, because they are thin. It can be easily absorbed. It's water permeable and can also absorb sodium chloride easily without any kind of transporters, without any kind of change in potential. So we can skip thin loop of Henle. Okay, Jasmine. Now, so that's why we have to skip. Thin loop of Henle is not important that much for this part kind of solid process, reabsorption or secretion. So now we can skip thin loop of Henle, and they are coming to thick loop of Henle. Now this is difficult. Why the lumen is increased from plus 7 from plus 4? Remember, there is no more difficult change in the lumen in thin loop of Henle. So to assume the thin loop of Henle would have the same lumen, and you increase to plus 7 millivolt now. How that increases plus 7 millivolt in thick loop of Henle from plus 4 millivolt? Why it is plus 7?
Well, we have two chlorides coming out.
Coming out or coming in?
Coming into the cell.
So that chloride is 2 minus, right, Jessica?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Hold your thought. This is 2 minus. This is 1 plus. Agree?
Yes.
This is also coming in, right? This is 1 plus K is also coming in. Agree? So 1 plus K plus and 1 plus Na plus is 2 plus. Agree, Jessica? And Cl is 2 minus, right? Because it's 2 Cl, right? So it's 0, right? So this transporter is electroneutral. Agree?
Oh, I see. Yes.
Right. Good. This is what I want. I love it. I want to walk through with each one of you step by step, so you can follow this thing. So now this is electroneutral transport. Okay. Then why the lumen is positive? That's the question. Why lumen is positive? Yes, Fatima.
Is it because of the leaky potassium channels?
Good. I love it. Now, this is more difficult question, follow-up question on that. Anybody can answer it. You don't have to answer it, Fatima, if you don't know, but anybody can answer it. Why? Very fundamental questions. Very fundamental questions of physiology I'm asking you now. Why potassium will leak into the lumen from cell? Yes, Sadaf.
Potassium is recycled back into the lumen through ROMK channels.
Yeah, good. I got it. That's there is a special channel called ROMK channels. We'll talk about that in tomorrow's session. Good job. But why it will leak into the lumen? That's my question. Good. It's an epithelial potassium channel. Huh?
Would it be because of the concentration gradient?
Why?
If we have more coming into the cell, potassium will want to leak out.
Coming from where?
Lumen to cell, so there's a big gradient. So potassium.
Good. So that I would say that is a minor. You are correct. Good job. It's a minor contributor. What is the major contributor? Don't try to see the full picture.
The leaky channels?
No, leaky channels will leak the potassium out, right? You follow what I'm saying, right? You are correct. The potassium which is coming in will leak out because there is a high electrochemical gradient for potassium to leak back, right? Fatima, keep yourself unmuted so I can walk with you.
Okay,
good. So you're correct. You are correct here. Potassium is coming in, right? Which will increase the potassium concentration in the cell, and that will increase the electrochemical gradient across this apical luminal membrane or apical membrane, and that will result in potassium, the increased driving force of potassium leaking into the lumen from cell. I get it. Everybody get it. I'm sure. That's not difficult to understand. But why? What is the major contributor? If I tell you, you're gonna laugh at me and everybody like, what? I didn't get this, Dr. Shah. It's so fundamental. Sadaf.
Is it because of the epithelial sodium channels?
No. My question is why. I don't know why you're going to sodium. My question is why potassium is so high in the cell that is creating so large gradient for potassium to leak back into the lumen. And one part is, Fatima explained that correctly, is potassium coming in from the lumen that will increase the potassium concentration in the lumen. I agree on that, and that will result in leaking of some potassium will leak back into the lumen. But again, I don't think it's a major contributor; it's a minor contributor. But it is correct. It is contributor. I agree.
Yes, is it the ATP pump?
Yes. Remember that we have the sodium potassium ATPase pump pushing potassium, shifting potassium again all the time from blood to the cell, which keeps the level of potassium so high. So naturally, physiologically, we discussed so many times in the class, 98% of potassium, which is equal to 150 millimoles of potassium, is located in the cell. Cell is very high naturally with potassium concentration. Why? Because sodium potassium ATPase pump. Outstanding job, Jessica. I love it. So because of this major contributor of sodium potassium ATPase pump plus this potassium that is coming in, as Fatima said, all together will increase the potassium concentration exponentially in the ICF, and that will create a large electrochemical gradient for potassium across the luminal membrane in the thick loop of Henle renal epithelial cells, and that will result in increased driving force for potassium to leak back in the lumen from cell. And that potassium is cation positive, and that will make the lumen positive, more positive. Isn't this cool, amazing, Fatima?
Yeah.
Say with confidence, yes. Amir, you said that. Amir doesn't want to say that. I can't believe that. Andrew, you want to say that? Yes, it is cool. Say that.
It's incredible.
I love it. Good. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Super. I love you guys. You guys are doing so good job. Amazing. So this potassium will make this lumen positive. Agree? Jessica? Make it more positive, right? Because potassium is leaking back. And potassium is cation. Very good, Fatima. Good job. Now let's move to the early distal tubule. Oh my God. Now it's a difficult question. And then what Mrs. Abraham brought it up will come back here. And then we'll talk about that. What is the calcium magnesium playing role here? I'm giving that hint. Now look at the luminal potential here in early distal tubule. Why it is so negative? It is plus 7 millivolt. You walk little bit in early distal tubule, from thick loop of Henle, and you decrease potential by 17 millivolt, it becomes minus 10 millivolt. Why it becomes so negative suddenly? Hey, Sarah, how are you? Good to see you.
Is it because the sodium keeps going inside the cell? So it creates a negative charge?
Well,
Lumen?
I'll tell you, sodium 1 plus goes in, 1 minus goes in. So this transport is electroneutral. This transport is electroneutral. 1 plus goes in, 1 minus goes in, right?
Yeah,
So
but
this will not contribute for any change in luminal potential, right? It's definitely a difficult part. I'm not expecting you to answer it, but I just have to want to discuss it. It is in connection with the magnesium and calcium reabsorption. So remember that this lumen positive potential thick group of Henle will reabsorb. That will create a repulsion for calcium and magnesium to be reabsorbed, because calcium is a divalent cation, calcium, magnesium divalent cation. So because the thick loop of Henle is lumen positive, it will create a repulsion for calcium and magnesium to be reabsorbed passively. Remember that, to be reabsorbed passively from thick loop of Henle. So you reabsorb all cations which are divalent and which are two. So it's all you remove so much of positivity from the lumen. You remove magnesium, you remove calcium from thick group of Henle by positive lumen potential, they will repel, and you remove two divalent cations. They had double impact. So you remove so much of the positivity from the lumen, and by the time you come to early distal tubule, you has removed all calcium, magnesium, almost all calcium, magnesium, and some of them will be removed by PTH, which we'll talk about that tomorrow. By PTH with parathyroid hormone, they will also work on the early distal tubule, will actually increase calcium reabsorption. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But some of them will come here by PTH, but most of the calcium is reabsorbed. Magnesium is reabsorbed by the luminal positive potential from thick loop of Henle, and when you remove so much of the positivity of lumen of calcium and magnesium, and plus some calcium will be removed by the PTH in the early distal tubule, that will make the lumen extremely negative by the time you reach to early distal tubule. Mrs. Abraham, this is the concept you brought it up earlier. So I appreciate that, because this is important concept, that why it is negative in early distal tubule, because you reabsorb extensively calcium, magnesium from thick loop of Henle, and some calcium will be reabsorbed from the early distal tubule by PTH, and they all together will remove so much positivity of the lumen and will make the lumen negative. Difficult concept, but very important concept. All these things what I discussed today, it will come back throughout Friday. You'll be surprised to know that the kidney, each section is not isolated. Each section is so very strongly integrated, more than any other system. You'll be surprised by tomorrow that how everything is so much strongly communicated, and what we discussed today will come back tomorrow. So don't worry if you don't get it right now. Don't curse yourself. Don't blame yourself. As I always say that it's a difficult topic, difficult concept. But when we keep repeating it, revising it, revisiting it again and again, it will stick to you. It will stick to your mind, and then you can do well on the exam, because it will keep coming again and again, multiple times. Okay, good. All right. So this is more tiny, but I want to put it all side by side. So now when you get to so we talk about early proximal tubule, late proximal tubule, thick loop of Henle, and thick and early distal tubule. We talk about all of these. Now we get to the distal nephron now, which is called late distal tubule and collecting duct, which has mainly 3 types of cells, but we'll only focus on 2 types of cells which are physiologically important. One type of cell is called alpha intercalated cell. It's called alpha intercalated cell, and the other is called principal cell. Okay, this is called alpha intercalated cell. With the new generation, they change the name, make it more fancy. Smart kids like you, but old person like me, we used to name it as a type A cells. Is a type A cells is now called alpha intercalated cell, because it's called type A because it is involved in acid regulation. Acid regulation, type A, alpha intercalated cell. And you can see it here. Proton is pumped out in the lumen by this primary active transport here. And this also by this primary active transport, which are operated here also. on the luminal membrane of intercated cell here. It involved in acid regulation. There's a type B cells which are not physiologically that much important. It is important, but not that much. At least for exam, it's called type B because it is involved in base regulation of bicarbonate reabsorption and regulation. B for bicarbonate, B for base, A for acid, A for alpha. Okay, B for base, B for beta intercalated, B for base, B for beta intercalated, and B for bicarbonate. Anyways, so this is alpha indicated cell, which are here, and that's the principal cell here. Now, if you look at this cell, how can we differentiate this particular cell from rest of the segments? Tell me. And I put it here. Look at these transporters. They have their own ATP. Look, there are no ATP here. They are at secondary active transport. They don't have their own ATP, but this person has their own ATP. What are these transporters? It's a primary active transport, right? It's primary active transport. They're not relying on this sodium potassium ATPase pump. They operate on their own using their own ATP. They are all primary active transport. If you look at this counter transport, hydrogen potassium exchange, does this ring the bell? Does this ring the bell? Where do you see this kind of transport in early?
In the GI system.
I love it. Outstanding. Which part of the GI? Good.
The stomach.
Stomach, very good. So there are hydrogen potassium primary active transport which are located across the apical membrane or luminal membrane of gastric parietal cell, right? In acid regulation, right? You learn in acid regulation in gastric parietal cell, on the luminal side of gastric parietal cells, you have the same transporter that is pumping out acid into the lumen and take the potassium back into the cell and into the blood, right, Jessica? And the drug which is inhibiting this transport that we learned in GI is called PPI, proton pump inhibitor. Omeprazole, lansoprazole, pantoprazole, reveprazole, all of these drugs, right? You learned that in GI. Good. So this is same transport that you have in GI. Good job, Jessica. So these both are primary active transport because you can see there are ATPs there. Okay. Now, what is the difference between this cell and this cell here, principal cell? Tell me.
Principal cell use secondary active transport, and it
Seriously?
Well, yeah.
Where are the secondary active transport principal cells? Can you see that here? Where are the secondary?
Oh no, it doesn't. But it absorbs Na and secretes potassium.
Okay, so that they are not a secondary active transport, right? They are just the sodium channel, right?
Sodium
channel. They are a potassium channel, and they are operated under the direction of aldosterone. What aldosterone? So it is directed under the. It is operated under the direction. It is mediated by aldosterone. That's why it is known as fine tuning segment. It will finely tune sodium and potassium in kidney and in the blood. It's called fine tuning segments for sodium and potassium regulation under the direction of aldosterone, and they are not transporter, they are channels. It's called epithelial sodium channel and epithelial potassium channel. Right, Fatima?
Yeah.
There are no primary active transport. There are no secondary active transport on the luminal membrane of principal cells. This is how you can differentiate this from this and this from rest of the segments. Right? Makes sense? That's why we should learn it side by side to make your life easy. You can easily learn it. Of course, I have to work hard for that, but I'm good. I'm happy with that because I love you guys. I want you to do well in the exam, every exam. Good. So no primary active transport, no secondary, but they are all epithelial sodium channel and epithelial potassium channel, which are expressed, which are recruited, which are populated, which are activated under the effect of aldosterone. It's called fine tuning segment for sodium and potassium regulation. Good job. Outstanding job. Good job. Now, okay, so I think that's enough for this slide. You get it. So we'll talk more about that in the when we move forward. But everybody clear so far, right? I think so.
Dr. Shah, I'm a little confused. I understand that it's
confusion is very important because if you are not confused, we will never learn it. It's called struggle. In other term, confusion is called struggle. When we struggle, we learn. I went through the same problem. Don't worry, Fatima. I went through so many confusion. I didn't have a teacher like me. I had a bad teacher. They didn't teach me. So I was always confused. So I struggled and I learned. So go ahead with your confusion.
For the principal cell, I understand that we're using it's just the regular channels, but why do we still have the sodium potassium ATP pump on the blood side?
Good. So that is also expressed by the aldosterone. Aldosterone will do all these three. Aldosterone will increase the quantity of sodium potassium ATP as pump here. It will also express sodium channel. It will also express potassium channel. You still want to get sodium out, right? Why? Because sodium is coming in. Agree? If sodium is coming in, where the sodium will go? In the blood. Right? So that's why this pump will ensure that the sodium that is coming in will be pumped back into the blood. Agree?
Okay, I got it.
Good. That's a circle, right? Life is circle. The world is circle. The earth is circle. Everything is circle. So this is sodium coming in. That sodium will go to the blood. This potassium is coming from the blood to the cell. It will go to the lumen. It's circle. Right, Amir? It's circle. It's circle. Good question. I like it. I like this question. It's not confusing. It's a very good question. It's a very good question. Good. I'm dancing. Look. All right. All right. This slide, I brought it for you to appreciate how the GI and renal are connected together. And this also explains to me, at least I'm convinced that by looking at these jejunium transporters or transport in the ileum or transporters in the colon, I am convinced that both GI and renal, they both were evolved at the same time during human evolution process. No doubt on that. No doubt on that, because all the transporters are same side by side. And that's why I'm convinced that both GI and nephron are evolved at the same time during human evolution process. Right, Fatima? Andrew? Makes sense? Good. Look at colon. Colon is distal part of the GI, right? And this principal cell, distal part of the nephron. Same mechanism. I can't believe that. Same mechanism. Aldosterone. Unbelievable. What does that indicate? GI absorb, renal kidney reabsorb. So they both are evolved at the same time. Good. Let's go back, and I want to tell you something exciting stuff before I get to the to the questions. And I know it's already 5 o'clock. It's interesting stuff I want to share with you. You're gonna love it. Now, you tell me why our body, our kidney is so stupid. Why it will reabsorb sodium and kick out potassium? Don't you think sodium is not good and potassium is good for us? Despite sodium is bad for us and potassium is good for us, our kidney does not doing that job. Kidney is kicking out potassium, which is bad, and kidney is reabsorbing sodium, which is more bad. Why we have this kind of design? Why we have this kind of blueprint?
To pull more water, to reabsorb more water when we need it.
Yeah, good. But that's that. But remember, water is very small amount of what is reabsorbed from the distal nephron. I agree with you, because you reabsorb sodium, you reabsorb water. But as we discussed earlier, most of the water is reabsorbed from the proximal tubule. How much? 67%. Right, Jessica? We talk about that. And how much is reabsorbed? So much from the thin loop of Henle. Right? If we are absorbing so much of the water from there, so water is not a concern here. But I agree with you. It will help absorbing water from the principal cells. But what is the logic behind that? Yes. Barson.
Hi, Dr. Shaw. It's because evolutionarily,
Yes.
like historically, we didn't have as much access to food as we do now. So we needed to reabsorb the sodium and excrete the potassium then, whereas we do the opposite now.
I love it. Outstanding. So if you look at the human evolution, you can love it. Human, it's not about accessing the food, but it's more about they were eating natural diet. Fatima, they're eating natural diet. When you eat natural diet, unlike pizza that I love it, salted chips, I love it, because I don't like natural diet. I don't like green stuff. I like all the junk food. So what junk food has? Sodium. It makes it tasty. It's good for the taste. It gives a good taste to the taste buds. It's very tasty. And sodium is also very good preservatives. So it will prolong the life of the food when you add sodium. It's not only making tasty, it also makes the life of the food very longer. Sodium, right? So when our ancestors, as Dr. Tofik said, so our ancestors used to eat a diet which is natural diet. They were not eating pizza. They didn't have Domino's at that time. They were not Dr. Shah, that crazy guy who liked junk food. So they were eating natural diet. and natural diet is rich in potassium and very low in sodium. So that's why the principles has designed that to reabsorb sodium and potassium. But if I live for 200 years, which I'm not going to live because I eat all the junk food. So if I live, I'm going to prove myself correct. 200 years from down the road, nephron will be different nephron. Nephron will reabsorb potassium and kick out sodium 200 years, 300 years down the road. Why? Because we eat so much of sodium. We do not eat enough potassium. Amir. That's the beauty of nephron. That's the beauty of kidney. That's why I love kidney. It's amazing. I love it. All right. All right. So you got this. You got this. Good job. We'll do only one question. I know it's almost 5 o'clock and it is recorded. This question is I'm going to post the recording from DO class as well. But I covered this question in DO class. Those who want to leave, they can leave. I'll be posting this anyway recording. This recording is already posted from previous year. And I discussed this question also in that recording. So you can also view that recording. It won't make any difference if you want to stay or not. Maybe you can just stay for a few minutes and just if you want to stay, it's okay. I'm not forcing people to leave, but I want to respect your time. I'll just start the poll and just participate before you leave, if you want to leave, and then so everybody gets a point for that. It will be very quick now because I think you have very good concepts of all this. I think I want to discuss this in the class, all of this concept, because it's really somewhat difficult concept and not very well explained in different resources, and it doesn't come all together. Like now it's all coming together. And that is very important to see the full picture, to connect the dot, and to see how different segments of nephron communicate and work together in order to sustain homeostasis, in order to maintain fluid and electrolyte balance in body. I won't feel bad if you leave, don't worry. Feel free to leave, okay? It's already 5 o'clock. I'm doing it to help you guys. So my daughter is hungry, I'm still staying back. And I want to take her to Chipotle. But I think you guys are my priority. It's important for you guys. You need to learn this. It's very important because renal module is a big module exam. We have 41 questions from just renal physiology. Is 41 questions, automatic questions. It's a big block, right, Adina? Right? I'm a bad father. I know that. I'm not a good dad. I'm not a good dad. All right, but this is important questions. I want people to stay back if they want to. If they want to leave, they can leave. I want mine, but I want to discuss it. One question, we'll discuss everything. We'll discuss all these things for the second interactive sessions. One question has all concepts. And it will also bring all the entire fall semester that you learned. What you learned in our fall semester will come back in this question. Now I'll not insist anybody to turn their camera on. It's already 5 o'clock, okay? If you want to be idle, you can be idle. Sleep, no worries. Turn the camera off, but listen to me. Or all right, I can turn off the poll now. It will be very quick, I promise. Not more than 10 minutes. It will be very quick. All right. So problem is hypokalemia. Anybody can tell me quickly why it's hypokalemia? This is the first question I wrote when I joined Toro in 2015. So this question is very close to my heart. It's the first question, Andrew, I wrote when I joined Toro back in 2015. It's the first question I wrote. It's very close to my heart. I mean, I'm seeing the chat now. Good job, everybody. Very good. All right. Who would like to explain this? Why hypokalemia? What's the connection between beta 2 stimulant? Why I put beta 2 stimulant in purple color and bronchial asthma in purple color? Why is it same color?
Because those are the pharmaceuticals that are supposed to be alleviating the symptoms.
I love it. Outstanding. So beta 2 is a bronchodilator, right? It will relax the bronchial smooth muscles. Very good. And that's why it is prescribed for bronchial asthma. Very good. I love it. So how beta 2 stimulant will result in hypokalemia? And I put it here. Just look at the table. These table are from the textbook. Same thing.
Oh, it causes.
Dr. Shah, can you give like a complete explanation?
What?
If I can give like a complete explanation.
Yeah, good. Go ahead. That's what I want.
Yeah, so she has hypokalemia because all three medications lower plasma potassium, beta 2 stimulants and alpha 1 blockers shift potassium into the cell, and loop diuretics increase potassium loss in urine.
How? You're correct. I agree. How? What's
into
the
the cell? Into the cell.
Yeah, what is the mechanism? I'm asking. I agree.
They pull it into this. No.
So beta 2 stimulate. Okay, I think Aidan, you want to answer that? You're correct. Setup, you're correct. But who else wants to try? I think Adaf, not Adaf. Aidan raise the hand.
Hi, Dr. Shah.
Yes, hi.
I could answer the question for hypokalemia. The question Sims talks about loop diuretic, which pushes potassium out into the urine, and then it also talks about the patient being prescribed a beta 2 agonist.
Very good.
And beta 2 agonist then keeps the potassium, drives potassium into the cells.
But what is the mechanism? That's
causing hypokalemia.
I've said that you're right. You are correct. But my job is to discuss mechanism, right? If I don't discuss it, I'm not doing my job. I'm cheating with you. I'm cheating with myself. If I don't discuss mechanism, it's a physiology course, and I want everyone to answer the questions that way. If I get that you are correct, but I want to know mechanism. Just ask me.
Hi, Dr. Shah. So, I'm thinking that maybe has something to do. So, since she was given a loop diuretic, an example of a loop diuretic is furosemide. And so furosemide is going to impact like the sodium potassium 2 chloride channel, so that maybe that will prevent the potassium from being able to go into cell and therefore excreting the potassium out of the urine.
Very good, very good. So that's the same thing. I agree with you. Hold on. I agree with you, and I think Aidan and Sadaf said that. So it will inhibit the reabsorption of potassium, direct inhibition of the reabsorption by furosemide, which is a loop diuretic. I agree with you. It will not reabsorb potassium. So potassium will stay in the luminal in the tubular fluid, and that will be excreted by the kidney. Good. Hypokalemia. I agree on that. 100% agree on that, Jasmine. What about beta 2 stimulant? Yes, Mrs. Abraham.
No, I was gonna. Sorry, I was gonna go towards the muscle weakness and abnormal.
Hold on. That's a good thought. We'll get to that. I just want to go step by step. Let's go with the talk about beta 2 stimulant, because that's the first thing in the stem. Beta 2 stimulant, I agree with you. It will help in bronchial asthma. 100% agree on that. That's why it is prescribed. It is not a hypothetical stem. It is real clinical scenario, and that's why I want to discuss it thoroughly with you guys. Beta 2 stimulant for bronchial asthma, I agree. It will result in hypokalemia. I agree. It will shift potassium from ECF to ICF. It will increase uptake of potassium from ECF to ICF. Result in hypokalemia. I agree with Aidan. I agree with Sadaf. I agree with everybody. But what's the mechanism?
So the mechanism is that beta 2 stimulates the sodium potassium ATPase.
Exactly. So beta 2 stimulant like insulin will stimulate sodium membrane bound sodium potassium ATPase pump, and this is how it will increase the shift of potassium from ECF to ICF. It will increase uptake of potassium, resulting in hypokalemia. Good. A complete answer. Agree? Everybody agree with you on that? Agree or not? It's my job. I just cannot say yes to make you happy. I have to discuss why. Good. I'm not here to make you happy. If I'm here to make you happy by education. That's the only way I want to make you happy. So you're correct, Sadaf. Beta 2 activation, same like insulin, will activate membrane-bound sodium potassium ATPase pump. It will shift potassium from ECF to ICF, hypokalemia. Outstanding. Now let's go to the difficult part. Alpha 1 blocker. We know why alpha 1 blocker will result in hypokalemia. That's the difficult part, but very logical. You gonna laugh, you're gonna love it when I say the answer. When I will tell you the answer. Oh my God, doctors, how could I not know that? You all know that.
Does this have something to do with like the actual potential and she's hyperpolarizing?
No. We are not. We are not going there in the muscle weakness way. I'm going to go there. Hold it.
Oh,
Hold that thought. Alpha-1 blocker. How they can result in hypokalemia? That's my question.
So alpha-1 reduces intracellular calcium.
Okay. Then what?
And it indirectly increases sodium potassium ATPase activity.
Okay, I get that. This which is the minor contributor. What is the major contributor? Andrew.
Oh, pardon me. I was going to say because, well, an alpha-1 blocker, it's going to slow down the heart, so it's going to slow down the flow of blood.
Alpha-1 is not in the heart. Hold on. Don't mix it up. There is no alpha in the heart. Alpha-1 is there in the blood vessels. You have to go back and everybody should please review autonomic. If you forget about that, alpha-1 has no in the heart, it's beta-1, right? Andrew? Don't mix it up. Alpha-1 is there. Where do you find out alpha-1 receptor?
Alpha-1 receptor is the afferent arteriole. So what he calls like vasodilation.
Yeah. We are not talking. I know. I agree on that. That part I agree. So what is the outcome? That's my question. When you block alpha-1 receptor, you are correct. Alpha-1 will result in vasoconstriction, right? Vasoconstriction. Yes, Aidan.
Alpha-1 is a vasodilator and it slows down the blood.
Agonist or antagonist?
Agonist.
Seriously?
Antagonist. Sorry.
Yes. So that's why it is prescribed. It is prescribed to treat congestive heart failure, right?
It slows down the blood pressure, allowing more time
Very
for
good. Decrease blood
diffusion
pressure
out of the
by decreasing
potassium
after
to
load.
diffuse out.
No. Let's go. Not it's too quick. Alpha-1 blocker is prescribed to treat congestive heart failure because it will decrease after load, as you said correctly, by decreasing vasoconstriction, right? Because it's a vasodilator. When you block alpha-1 receptor, it will decrease after load, and that will ease the heart to pump out blood. Agree? Aidan?
Yes, I agree.
Good. Now coming back to that's why it is prescribed to treat in this patient to treat congestive heart failure. But how that will result in hypokalemia? Because as Sadaf said correctly, indirectly, it will activate sodium potassium ATPase pump. But also think very logically, you're gonna laugh at that. When you block alpha receptor, what would happen to the beta receptor stimulation? Unopposed. Sadaf.
It pulls the potassium in, beta-2.
No. I agree on that. But when you block alpha, let's go step by step. When you block alpha-1 receptor, what will happen to beta-2 stimulation here? Look, beta-2 is KP. What will happen to beta-2 stimulation? Beta here, beta, same thing. Huh?
It will increase.
It will increase uptake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
it will activate sodium potassium ATPase pump. We just talk about that. Set up. Did you say that the effect of beta-2? You explain that beta-2. What beta-2 will do on sodium potassium ATPase pump? It will activate that, right? You said that. Will that result in hypokalemia? Yes or no? Yes, good. When you block alpha receptor, what would happen to what would happen to beta receptor? Unopposed. It's called unopposed. You have to flip the coin. Flip the coin. If you block alpha receptor, catecholamines has more catecholamines can activate beta-2 receptor, can result in sodium potassium ATPase pump activation, and can result in shift of potassium from BCF to ICF. I don't know why it's so difficult to understand, follow. If you block alpha receptor, what receptors are available?